You want to know the real reason people get uncomfortable around Libra? It's not their charm. It's not their beauty. It's not even their diplomacy. It's the fact that when everything collapses, they're still standing. And that drives people insane. You've seen it. The friend who rushed into a relationship is now heartbroken. The coworker who jumped into the perfect opportunity is now stressed and stuck. The loudest person in the argument is now apologizing. And Libra? Libra almost did it. Almost said yes. Almost invested. Almost fought back. Almost committed. But didn't. So people start whispering. They're so lucky. They always land on their feet. The universe protects them. And Libra quietly says something that sounds simple, almost annoying. I'm not lucky. I just don't walk into obvious disasters. And that's where the tension begins. Because if that's true, then what does that say about everyone else? Let's make this uncomfortable. Maybe Libra isn't lucky. Maybe they just see the crack in the glass before you slam your fist through it. Maybe they sense the imbalance before you feel the betrayal. Maybe they notice the shift in tone before the argument explodes. But here's the part nobody talks about. That luck, you see, it costs them something. Before we go there, we need to redefine what luck even is. Luck is being in the right place at the right time. Luck is escaping consequences. Luck is getting the reward without visible damage. But what if someone studies the room before stepping in? What if someone scans energy before speaking? What if someone plays out 5 possible futures before saying yes? Is that luck? Or is that strategic restraint? Libra has a habit that most people don't. They don't join every game. And that one habit protects them more than people realize. Most people move on impulse. They fall in love because it feels intense. They argue because they feel disrespected. They invest because they feel excited. Libra feels all of that too. They just pause. And that pause is everything. Because in that pause, they're calculating. If I say this, what happens next? If I stay, what does this become in 6 months? If I ignore this red flag, what am I agreeing to long term? They are not dramatic about it. They don't announce it. But internally, they are running simulations. And here's the first uncomfortable truth. Most people don't fail because they're unlucky. They fail because they ignore patterns. Libra doesn't ignore patterns. They remember who lied last time. They remember how that small issue grew into chaos. They remember how imbalance always starts subtle. So when they see it forming again, they withdraw. Not loudly, not angrily, just quietly. And that's when people call them lucky. Let's turn up the heat. There are 2 camps in this argument. One says Libra is blessed. They meet helpful people. They avoid catastrophic mistakes. They rarely suffer public meltdowns. They seem protected. The other camp says no. Libra just doesn't jump into fires to prove they're brave. They don't argue with someone determined to misunderstand them. They don't commit to people who are inconsistent. They don't chase opportunities that feel unstable. They don't stay where respect disappears. That's not cosmic protection. That's selective participation. But here's where it gets dangerous. Because if Libra isn't lucky, then maybe everyone else is just reckless. And that idea makes people defensive. Now let's talk about something deeper. Libra reads energy faster than most signs admit. You can say all the right words. If your tone shifts, they notice. If your enthusiasm fades slightly, they notice. If your story changes subtly, they notice. They don't always confront it immediately, but they log it. They collect patterns like evidence. And once the pattern becomes clear, they adjust. Most people wait for proof. Libra moves at suspicion, not paranoia. Intuition sharpened by observation. And this is where the first emotional spike hits. Think about the last major mistake you made. Was there a warning sign? Did something feel slightly off? Did you override your instinct because you didn't want to seem negative? Libra rarely overrides that instinct. And because of that, they avoid a lot of unnecessary pain. But now let's drop the tension. Because avoiding pain comes at a price. Libra doesn't crash hard, but they also don't burn wildly. They rarely fall headfirst into madness. They rarely gamble everything on one decision. They rarely love without a mental safety net. And sometimes that makes them wonder, am I too careful? Did I protect myself out of something bigger? Did I avoid disaster or avoid depth? Here's something most people will never admit. Chaos makes life feel alive. Intensity makes memories unforgettable. Recklessness creates stories. Libra edits those stories before they become disasters, which means their life is stable, balanced, controlled, but sometimes less extreme. And this is where the second big spike rises. Maybe Libra survives more, but do they truly live more? That question will split the room instantly. Some people will say survival is wisdom. Others will say safety is fear dressed up as elegance. And Libra sits in the middle of that argument, weighing both sides. Because that's their curse and their gift. They see both truths at the same time. They can justify staying. They can justify leaving. They can defend you and critique you in the same breath. That mental balance protects them from extremes. But it also traps them in constant evaluation. Let's make this sharper. Libra doesn't avoid confrontation. They avoid useless damage. They don't explode when emotions are high. They wait. They choose timing. They choose tone. They choose setting. They understand that winning the wrong way can cost more than losing quietly. And because of that, they rarely end up humiliated, rarely end up publicly destroyed, rarely end up with irreversible consequences. But here's the part nobody sees. The mental exhaustion. When everyone else reacts freely, Libra absorbs. When others lash out, Libra calculates. When chaos erupts, Libra scans for equilibrium. That's not luck. That's emotional labor. And emotional labor is invisible, so the world calls it fortune. Now let's go deeper into the core fear. Libra is not afraid of losing. They are afraid of imbalance. They are afraid of being unfair. They are afraid of creating damage they cannot repair. So they hesitate. They weigh. They overthink. They replay conversations at night. They imagine how every word will land. And sometimes that hesitation protects them. But sometimes it costs them opportunities. Because while they're calculating, someone else already moved. This is where critics say something brutal. They say Libra plays life too safe. They say Libra avoids extremes because they're afraid of losing control. They say Libra calls caution wisdom when it might be fear. That accusation hits hard. And sometimes it's partially true. Because when you are wired to see consequences clearly, risk feels heavier. When you understand how quickly harmony can collapse, you guard it tightly. Libra doesn't fear chaos because they're weak. They fear chaos because they know how expensive it becomes. But here's the twist. The same skill that protects them can limit them. If you always choose the balanced path, you rarely experience the wild swing. If you always prevent disaster, you might also prevent breakthrough. And now we hit the core conflict. Is Libra blessed by the universe? Or are they simply disciplined enough to avoid self-destruction? Maybe the reason they seem lucky is because they don't need to win spectacularly. They just refuse to lose catastrophically. Think about that. Most people chase big wins and accept big losses. Libra minimizes losses first. And over time, that compounds. Fewer broken relationships. Fewer burnt bridges. Fewer irreversible mistakes. That stability looks like magic from the outside. But it's built on micro-decisions no one notices. Walking away early. Saying less than they feel. Choosing not to escalate. Choosing not to respond. Choosing not to invest emotionally when something feels off. That's not glamorous. It's controlled. And control isn't exciting. But it is powerful. So maybe Libra isn't lucky. Maybe they just understand something most people don't want to accept. Not every opportunity is meant to be taken. Not every argument deserves your voice. Not every love deserves your heart. Not every risk deserves your energy. And when you filter life that way, you experience fewer disasters. Now the final question. If you could go back and undo 3 major mistakes in your life, would you? Libra tries to undo them before they happen. That's the difference. So when you see them standing calmly while others recover from chaos, ask yourself this. Are they fortunate? Or are they just unwilling to gamble their peace? And if you are a Libra listening to this, be honest. Are you lucky? Or are you constantly calculating to avoid what you've already seen destroy others? Maybe the truth sits in the middle. Maybe Libra isn't favored by the universe. Maybe they just pay attention. And sometimes, in a world that rushes blindly toward intensity, paying attention looks like magic. So now the room is divided. Are they blessed? Or just careful? Are they protected? Or simply disciplined? And the real uncomfortable question remains. If you had their restraint, would your life look different? Think about it. Because maybe the greatest advantage isn't winning more. Maybe it's losing less. And maybe that's not luck at all.